Hi everybody, this is just a quick video about the importance of checking your B12 and iron when you have a chronic illness. Plus, I want to tell you about an iron supplement that is gentle on your stomach and doesn't cause the gastrointestinal upset that regular iron tablets can cause. While iron and B12 don't relate to ME/CFS specifically, people with disabilities are more susceptible to developing deficiencies because they don't always have the energy or the money to eat a perfectly balanced diet all the time. So if you're not getting quite enough of these nutrients in your diet, as the months and years go by, it's not unusual for a deficiency of some kind to develop several years after the onset of a condition like ME/CFS. We'll start with the iron. For those diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, or really any illness that causes fatigue, your doctor should have already tested your iron levels when you first started presenting with fatigue. That's one of the first things they check because iron deficiency anemia is known to cause fatigue, and it's very simple to detect with a blood test. At the time I first started to get sick, my doctor checked my iron levels and they were fantastic. So we knew that my fatigue was not due to anemia. However, due to various medical and logistical issues, I developed an iron deficiency several years into having ME/CFS. So it's worth checking your iron every now and then because if, like me, it was fine at first, it might have crept low over the years, so you might be experiencing more fatigue than necessary. If you find your iron is low, you'll need to start supplementing. And by the way, you do need to check that your iron is in fact low before you start taking it, because excess iron can also cause fatigue, rather ironically. So you don't want to take it unless you know you need it. Now, a lot of people don't tolerate regular iron supplements very well. The most common formulation of iron you get at the pharmacy is ferrous sulfate or other ferrous forms of iron. Unfortunately, this form can cause constipation and other gastrointestinal side effects. If this is you, you might want to try a product called Multifer. This form of iron supplement uses iron polymaltose, which is better absorbed and gentler on your digestive system than ferrous iron. My doctor told me about this one, and indeed the Multifer worked much better for me. When we first found out that my iron was low, I took a ferrous sulfate supplement called Ferrograd C. It's the most common iron supplement on the market in Australia. You've probably seen it at the chemist. The funny thing is, most of my iron markers went up to where they should be after a while, but I didn't feel any better, and my iron dropped low again soon after. But when I started taking Multifer, I noticed a definite improvement in my energy. I felt noticeably better and all my iron markers went up to their ideal levels. Multifer is a bit more expensive than Ferrograd at about $30 Australian for a packet, but it might be worth it for the benefits. For me, it actually worked out less expensive in the long run because once I got my iron levels up to normal by taking it daily, I didn't need to keep taking it, especially since my diet is better now and I take a certain supplement daily that contains some iron. Now, to maximize your iron absorption, make sure you consume some vitamin C at the same time you take your iron. Also, don't drink any tea or coffee around that time because those contain compounds that block iron absorption. Calcium also interferes with iron absorption, so avoid any calcium supplements or calcium-rich foods at the time you take your iron. Lastly, if you don't do well with oral iron supplements, or if your iron is extremely low, you can have iron administered intravenously in what's called an iron infusion. Your doctor will be able to tell you about that. Now, B12. I want to mention B12 in particular for a few reasons. Firstly, it's extremely important for your body, and B12 deficiency is not uncommon even in healthy people. In the US, 3 to 4% of those aged 20 to 59 were deficient in B12 and 6% of those aged 70 and up were deficient. That doesn't sound all that common, but even when B12 is not low enough to be called a deficiency, it can still be low enough to cause problems, in which case we'd say that B12 is marginal or depleted. And marginal B12 is quite common, occurring in about 15% of those aged 20 to 59 and more than 20% of those aged over 60. One of the reasons for this is that some individuals don't absorb B12 effectively. So even if you're getting enough in your diet, your body might not be able to take it in properly, in which case you need to supplement. I'm also singling out B12 because B12 depletion or deficiency can cause symptoms that are similar to those of ME/CFS, so it can sometimes go unrecognised. Symptoms of low B12 include anemia, fatigue, headache, cognitive impairment, and muscle weakness. When deficiency is moderate to severe, the nervous system is affected, resulting in neurological symptoms like peripheral neuropathy, numbness and tingling in the hands and feet, and loss of proprioception, which affects movement and balance. Severe deficiency is very serious, but the good news is it's simple to treat. The thing is, even if your levels aren't low enough to cause obvious symptoms, if your B12 is suboptimal, you might benefit from bumping up those levels. Your B12 might fall within the range considered normal for the general population, but that doesn't always mean it's at the optimum level for your individual body. By the way, the same goes for iron and any nutrient really. Just because your levels are within the normal range on paper doesn't mean that they're ideal. You might feel better if you push them a bit higher while staying within that healthy range. The good thing about B12 is that unlike iron, it's not toxic if you take too much. It's a water-soluble vitamin, so any excess just comes out in your urine. So you don't need to know your B12 levels before you start taking it, although it's probably a good idea to check with a blood test just to verify whether you're absorbing enough through your diet alone. And definitely get tested if you're experiencing symptoms of low B12. If your B12 is markedly low, you'll need a more aggressive supplementation regime, which your doctor can advise you on. So as I said, some people don't absorb B12 very well from their food or don't eat enough of it. For these people, the best form of supplementation is one that bypasses the digestive system. So either sublingual, which is under the tongue, or by an injection. With a sublingual supplement, you let it sit under your tongue instead of swallowing it. There are a lot of little blood vessels under your tongue, so the medicine can absorb into them and go directly into the bloodstream. You can buy sublingual B12 from the chemist, or you can get it online. B12 injections are also a very reliable way to get B12. It's going to go right into your bloodstream and take effect immediately. That's the fun thing. If it turns out your body does better with a bit of extra B12, you should feel an improvement in your fatigue or other symptoms within minutes of getting a shot, especially in terms of cognitive symptoms. Low B12 can really make the brain fog worse. I decided to try B12 shots because some of my Spoonie friends had told me how much better they felt after a shot. Also, I wanted to make sure I was absorbing enough of it because I eat a mostly vegan diet and B12 is only found in animal foods. I was already taking some B12 tablets, but I wanted to see if I would benefit from the shots. So I had a few B12 injections, but I didn't notice any difference, so my B12 must have already been adequate for my body. Still, I was glad I tried it just in case, and now I know I am absorbing enough through tablets alone. Just a word of caution, some of my very severe, very sensitive Spoonie friends had felt a little bit sick after their B12 injection just initially, and it wore off pretty quickly and then they felt better. But just a warning, if you're very sensitive, if you tend to react to things, it's possible you might sort of feel a bit knocked around the first time you have a B12 shot, but that should pass very quickly. You can buy a pack of 3 injections from the pharmacy. Last time I checked, you didn't need a prescription, but if your pharmacy requires it, you can easily get it from your GP. You can get your doctor or a clinic nurse to jab you. It's very quick and easy. So that's it for today. The next video I'm making will be about restless leg syndrome. So if that's something you're interested in, please do subscribe so you don't miss it. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Damn it. Come on. Just... Ugh. My hair is like long enough to get in my face, but not long enough to tie back. And it's driving me nuts. That'll have to do. Okay. Is that a plane? The bird is a plane? Not Superman. Too loud. Come on. Do something. Damn hair. Ugh. Behave yourself. That's about as good as we're gonna get. Oh, here comes the sun. Now you want to come out, you bastard. Natural light's great when it works. Oh, now it's gone. Right. Back to the shadows.